Right, because I'm just gonna turn around to the platform where I've got be seated? Good morning, everyone, and welcome. President Thrasher, Justice Lawson, distinguished colleagues on the law faculty and from the music school, members of the class of 2018 graduating class, family, friends, and loved ones of our graduating students, welcome to this joyous occasion. This graduation is particularly significant because we are celebrating our 50th law school graduating class. For 50 years now, we have conferred law degrees to graduates who have shaped our institution and who have built impressive and fulfilling careers in legal practice, government and politics, business, and the judiciary. Those who preceded you have set a high bar for hard work, professionalism, and creative inspiration. They have played a fundamental role in making Florida State University College of Law truly excellent. Your class, too, has already and will no doubt continue to shape the College of Law in important ways. The class of 2018 has formed new student organizations, published impressive and innovative journal articles, brought home multiple national championships in advocacy and student life, created new pro bono projects and externship opportunities, ushered in enhanced programming on mental health and well-being, and served on student advisory boards to help shape our career services mission and our programming in professional development and professionalism. In these and many other ways, you too are leaving an important legacy at FSU. So, let us begin this morning with a round of applause for the members of the Spring 2018 graduating class. You did it. We are here, of course, to celebrate the accomplishments of the members of the Spring 2018 graduating class who have worked long and hard to get to this point. But we're also here to celebrate the love and support of all of you here witnessing in this arena for all the love and the support that you have given to these graduating students over the years. Every single student graduating today received assistance from many individuals in order to get here. Graduating students, please stand and provide a round of applause as a thank you to your family, friends, and other loved ones who have joined us today. And please also give a round of applause and thank you to your faculty who have taught, tutored, and mentored you to learn how to think and analyze as a first-rate lawyer. And finally, because our celebration is being live streamed, let's add a round of applause and thanks to our loved ones and faculty members who are unable to join us in person today. Thank you. It is my pleasure to introduce President John Thrasher, the first FSU Law alum to become president of Florida State University. President Thrasher became Florida State University's 15th president in November 2014. John earned his bachelor's degree from Florida State in 1965. He subsequently joined the U.S. Army, where he received the Army Commendation Medal in Germany and was awarded 2 Bronze Stars for his service in Vietnam. He was honorably discharged as a captain in 1970 and immediately started law school at Florida State. We were on a quarter system then, and John worked very hard, received his law degree with honors in a mere 2 years. After working in private law practice in Daytona Beach and Tallahassee for several years, John returned to Jacksonville to serve as general counsel for the Florida Medical Association, a position he held for 20 years. He also served as counsel to the Jackson law firm of Smith, Halsey, and Busey. John's political career began in 1986 when he was elected to the Clay County School Board. He then became a state representative in 1992, and he was reelected without opposition in 1994, 1996, and 1998. He was unanimously elected as the Speaker of the Florida House of Representatives in 1998. John was elected to the Florida Senate in 2009 and subsequently reelected. He served as chairman for the Republican Party of Florida in 2010. From 2001 to 2005, he was the first chair of Florida State University's Board of Trustees. In 2002, he was a key supporter of legislation that brought funding to the creation of FSU's College of Medicine. And today, a building at the College of Medicine is named in his honor. He was also critical in obtaining legislative appropriations for the law school to acquire and completely remodel our advocacy center. In recent years, now President Thrasher has been critical in helping the law school receive additional appropriations money for scholarships, new faculty, and our Veterans Legal Clinic. President Thrasher's wife, Jean, has joined us today. She is the most dynamic First Lady of Florida State, and she consistently dons one of my very favorite smiles. The Thrashers have 3 children and 8 grandchildren. Please join me in welcoming President Thrasher.
Thank you very much, Dean O'Connor. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. It truly is, even after spending about 15 hours in this building the last 2 days. I promise you that. But Jean and I are delighted to be here, and when we welcomed all the families, I can remember back even a long time ago to her great support that I had when I was in law school at Florida State University. So it's an honor for me to share the stage today, though, with some incredible people. Your great faculty, your great dean, your former dean Sandy Dallenberg, and former president emeritus of Florida State University is sitting over there, and I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge him and his great support for Florida State University for so many years, and his great support of this president, I might add also, in spite of some of the things Aaron said about my political background. It's also an honor to be here with Supreme Court Justice Alan Lawson. You picked well. You picked well. Justice Lawson is a distinguished alumnus of FSU's College of Law, a respected lawyer and jurist. His success reflects well on the college and the entire university, and I'm so proud that we can call him one of our own. Justice Lawson will have some, I'm sure, inspiring words for us in a few minutes, but first I'd like to extend a warm welcome to all the friends and family members who have traveled here, I know, from different parts of the state and probably the country to be here today. We appreciate that very much. Thank you for your support and encouragement. You have provided your loved ones so that they have realized and can realize the dream of earning a law degree from Florida State University. And graduates, congratulations, sincere congratulations. As an alumnus of the College of Law, it gives me great joy to share this important occasion with you and celebrate your graduation. You have the distinction, as Dean said, of being the 50th class to graduate from the law school. You've had the benefit of building on the success of all the law grads who have come before you, and now you have the privilege of paving the way for students who will follow your footsteps over the next 50 years. I was in the law school's 4th graduating class. No need to do the math. Let's just say it was a long time ago. But I can tell you my law degree has opened doors for me over the years that I know I would not have had the privilege of doing. And I would not have the privilege of doing and being here today but for that law degree. And I know it'll do the same for you. In fact, the value of your law degree has gone up as the college has gained increased national prominence over recent years. So in addition to offering my congratulations for a job well done, I need to say thank you to you all. It's your hard work and academic success in making those of us who came before you look better than we should, probably. With Dean O'Connor at the helm and the outstanding professors that you have in the classroom, it's easy to see why you're one of the finest law schools in the country. In fact, U.S. News and World Report ranks Florida State in the top 25 of best public schools in the nation. People are already starting to take notice of what we're doing here, and I know we will continue to climb in the rankings under the great leadership of Dean O'Connor. That's because our students are prepared to land jobs which they get after graduation. We consistently are among the best law schools in Florida when it comes to job placement. And it's no wonder. From the success of the Black Law Students Association to the national competitions won by moot court and trial teams, your skills and accomplishments are outstanding. But what I'm most proud of as president of Florida State University, what I'm most proud of is the work that you are doing to serve society. I think at the heart of all lawyers, we want to make a difference in the world. And I know you care deeply about justice, and I think you've shown that care, your care about equally giving that back. In fact, the law class of 2018 has impressed, I think, everyone that knows about this fact. I learned that you had completed 10,964 hours of pro bono service. The creation of the Veterans Legal Clinic is just one example of how our students are reaching out in the community to provide free legal services to people who really need the help. I'd like to urge you all to please keep your fervor for helping others as you begin your careers. Consider ways that you can serve your communities, your state, your nation. You're not only lawyers, you're leaders. As you take the next step in your life's journey, I hope you will carry the spirit of the FSU College of Law with you in all of your endeavors. Again, congratulations, best wishes, and happiness and fulfillment for success. God bless you.
It is now my pleasure to introduce Justice Alan Lawson of the Florida Supreme Court. Justice Lawson earned his bachelor's degree from Clemson University and his JD degree here at Florida State University. He graduated with highest honors in 1987 and worked as an associate and then a partner at Steele, Hector & Davis. After a brief stint as a general counsel, Justice Lawson became an assistant county attorney in Orange County in 1997. 4 years later, he began his judicial career as a circuit judge on the 9th Judicial Circuit, where he was awarded the 2005 Outstanding Jurist Award from the Florida Council on Crime and Delinquency. In 2006, he became a judge on the 5th DCA, where he also served as chief judge. In 2016, Justice Lawson joined the Florida Supreme Court. Throughout his judicial career, Justice Lawson has taken an active role in judicial administration and the improvement of the Florida judiciary, as well as in our bar associations and Inns of Court. Justice Lawson is also a committed volunteer, serving several organizations including House of Hope, Hope for Honduras, and surgical and medical relief teams. He is an avid runner, a husband to his very intelligent and lovely wife, Julie, the father of 2 children, and the grandfather of 2. Please join me in welcoming Justice Lawson.
31 years and 4 days ago, I was sitting exactly where you are, in this room, about to cross the stage as a brand new graduate of Florida State University College of Law. That's 11,327 days between there and here, and it seems to have flown by. I've had a really good career, and more importantly, I've enjoyed a really good life filled with challenges, of course, hardship, of course, but full of love and laughter and unforgettable experiences and more rewards than I think I could ever deserve. I wouldn't trade places with anybody that I know. My job, as I understand it today, is to say something that has a chance of helping you build a good career and, more importantly, a good life for yourself, so that 31 years from now, as you look back, you will do so without regret and with genuine gratitude for every day between now and then. The only place that I know to turn for that is principles. I've heard often that experience is the best teacher, and there is some truth in that. The problem is that if you rely on your own experience and judgment of your experiences to determine how you're going to live your life, those lessons will come, but often too late and at too great an expense. Experience is the best teacher, but it's a lot less painful when it's somebody else's experience. So if you can grab hold of some principles that will help you live a good life, you've only got one shot at this. And as I said, time does seem to fly. So here I hope is my gift to you, 5 principles that have guided me well and that I sincerely hope you'll find at least helpful. The first principle, and I'll explain it later because it will not make sense at first, are you are not who you are. I came very close to not applying for the 2016 opening on the Florida Supreme Court. I had applied in 2008 and didn't get it, and that was no fun. Didn't want to do that again. And a lot of people thought that I was going to apply, so I got asked frequently, are you going to apply? This opening's coming, are you going to apply? And by early 2016, I had my answer, a very definitive no, I'm not going to do that. I was explaining to a good friend of mine who's not a lawyer, he's in the construction business, Chuck Price, why I had made that decision. And I was explaining to him that I was very comfortable with my life. I had been a judge on the District Court of Appeal for 10 years. I had reached a pinnacle of my career as Chief Judge of the 5th District Court of Appeal. I felt like I had pretty much mastered the skills necessary to do that job well. My term as chief would end in a couple years, and I would also at that time rotate off of the District Court of Appeal Budget Commission, which I had chaired and took a lot of time. I was explaining to Chuck that when those extra duties ended, when I rotated off as chief judge and as DCABC chair, that would give me more free time to take it easier. It would have been a very, very comfortable place to stop. And I knew that being on the Supreme Court would be a lot more work and a lot more pressure and a lot more time. And I explained all that to Chuck, and Chuck looked at me and said, my daddy always told me that if you're coasting, you're going downhill. That haunted me for the weeks that followed because I knew that it was true. Experts from every field will tell you that there's no such thing as maintaining over the long term. Athletes will tell you that if they're not training to improve performance, they'll lose it, improve it or lose it. Business experts will tell you that when a company or institution stops focusing on growth, it starts its decline, grow or die. And as I looked at my life over the next few weeks, following my conversation with Chuck, I realized that although I had been a lifelong learner, reading books, going to lectures, taking notes, trying to apply things to myself, I had virtually stopped the day I decided that I had pretty much mastered my current skills that I needed for my current job and that I was going to just coast for the rest of my career. And this applies to not only your career. Are your relationships rich and rewarding? If not, why not? What don't you know about yourself and relating to others that you need to know to grow and improve in that area of your life? Because in every area of life, if you are coasting, you're going downhill. And that's why you are not who you are. As Greek philosopher Heraclitus put it, the only constant is change. Everything flows, nothing abides. If we had time, I would tell you about the exciting brain science studies in this area. It's fascinating. Go read Carol Dweck's book from Stanford. Don't have the time, but nothing about you is fixed. Not your intelligence level, not your personality, not your knowledge, not your skills. You are on a trajectory, and it is either that way or it is that way. And since you're not static, it makes no sense to think about who you are. It only makes sense to think about today, who you are becoming. Right now, you are becoming someone else as we exchange ideas. If this exciting thought or others capture you, it'll change the directory, potentially, of your life, growth in different areas. If not, it's not that you're not changing, it's just that you're changing in a different direction. Growth or coast, either way, you are changing, and that's why you're never who you are. You're only who you're becoming. Second principle, take time for reflection. I don't remember much from my sophomore year of college, but I do remember taking an English literature class, and I do remember something from that class, I think, which is a testament to the enthusiasm of that particular professor and the fact that she could make something that I expected to be boring very exciting. What I remember is that there was an American-born author named Henry James who wrote a novel entitled Daisy Miller. What I remember about Daisy Miller was that that novel, like every other one that he wrote almost, centered around a theme. Every scene was pointed toward some central question or focus. And Henry James called that the thing that supremely matters. If you and I are going to grow, in what direction are you going to grow? Unless you take time to decide for yourself and for your life what it is that does and will supremely matter to you. Until yesterday morning, I had used the quote for this point, one from Socrates. You probably heard it: "The unexamined life is not worth living." It's much more dramatic. Think about that. Not that the examined life is better than the unexamined life, but that the unexamined life is a complete and utter waste of your breath on earth. I decided I really didn't believe that everybody has value. Pretty harsh. And there's a danger in statements like that we take them and use them to judge others or condemn ourselves, and that's never healthy and never good. Too easy to misuse, but there is truth in it. It reflects the harsh and unyielding reality that it is extraordinarily unlikely that you will stumble blindly through life down paths that you will end up happy to have taken. In your work, in your relationships, in your leisure, but more fundamentally in who it is that you want to be at your core. For most of you, your course for the summer, the next phase of your life, is set. Your primary focus should be on preparing for the bar exam. Have you researched the best way to go about that? For example, if you took regular exercise or activity breaks, would you do better? The answer is yes. Would you have less stress? The answer is yes. Are there other goals that you should be pursuing at the same time and focusing on? The answer is yes. Some of those things haven't crossed your mind and could determine whether you thrive during this short next season of your life or whether you merely survive it. In other words, what are the things that supremely matter to you in this season? Because nothing will happen without that time for reflection. As it is for your summer, so it will be for your life and career. It will always be important that you regularly schedule time for reflection. Because if you aim at nothing, you will hit it every time. First, you're not who you are. Second, take time for reflection. And the third principle is remember what's important. More than 100 years ago, in the late 19th century, German psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus was among the first scientists to perform experiments aimed at how human memory works. Just teach someone a simple random fact and see how long the person remembers it. He scientifically proved what will be no surprise for you. It certainly wasn't for me. The answer to that question is not very long. We forget almost everything that we hear, and we do it very rapidly. So if you plot Ebbinghaus's results on a chart, and I'm looking at one now, it looks like this. It goes like this. Something you learn when you forget it. It's aptly called the forgetting curve. Now, if I ask you right now what we call Ebbinghaus's curve, almost all of you would remember that it's the forgetting curve. You just heard it. 20 minutes from now, 56% of you will have forgotten that. If you don't hear it again, not so easy. Tonight, not likely. Tomorrow, less likely. A month from now, no chance. And if you ask me 6 months from now what we call Ebbinghaus's curve, and I haven't looked at this again, I'm probably likely to say, who? Unless. And here's the second important part of Ebbinghaus's results. Unless I see it, hear it, or think about it again in the near future, because the downward slope of the forgetting curve is softened by repeating the learned information at particular intervals. So the first one looks like this, but then you hear it again, it doesn't look like that. It looks like this, and if you hear it again, it looks like that. If you hear it again, it looks like that. It's called spaced repetition. In the short run, this has immediate implications for the next phase of your life. You have plenty of time to pass the bar exam. Every one of you can, every one of you should, but you do need to strategically plan for spaced repetition. More importantly, the forgetting curve has long-term implications for the way you live your life. It's all well and good to decide that you're going to take control, learn to grow, be your best self. Without focus, you'll soon tire of that. That's why you need time for reflection, so you could determine those few things that are really important that you should be focused on. But even that will have little meaning for you if you don't figure out a way to remember what you've decided was important. When I was young, the way I did that was to cut out quotes or handwrite them or get posters or cheap little plaques. In high school, I usually studied in my bed, not very effective, but I did okay. So I put them on the wall where I'd see them in my room. College dorm, I had a small desk in the dorm, that's where I studied, so they went on the desk and on the wall in front of the desk, worked really well. Law school apartment here in Tallahassee, I was hardly ever in my room. As you probably know, I primarily studied in the library, but other places too. So I started using index cards. I had a commute, and so I would go through those things that were important to me on index cards in a daily review. Julie and I got married a little over a month after law school graduation, and when I pulled out my posters and things in our first apartment in Miami, one-bedroom apartment, we had one of our first marital disagreements. I had to agree with her that my handwritten sayings and tattered posters and cheap plaques did not fit the decor of our small apartment. There was no place for them, so I stored them away. Many of those quotes related to a principle that people and relationships are far more important than money, status, or things, and I still believe that. But again, those reminders all got boxed up. Plus, our first apartment was in downtown Miami, very close to the office, no time on a commute for index cards, so that habit also went by the wayside. As a litigator, I began working hard to hone to perfection some necessary skills like cross-examination and the persuasive parsing of words. I needed to be able to use language and skills of persuasion to do things like lay bare the lies of an opposing witness or shred the arguments of an opposing counsel. I wasn't very good at that at first, but I got improved. I got better and better. It took a while, but my relationship with my wife began to sour. I didn't recognize it at the time, but I had started using my litigation skills on her. I could win arguments, and winning looked like success, and success started becoming the most important thing. That wasn't a decision that I made. That's the message of our culture, that success is the most important thing. And since I was no longer systematically reviewing what I had once determined to be important, I was becoming somebody that I never, ever wanted to be. We do not like to think about ourselves at our worst, but if I'm going to keep it real and be honest with you, it got pretty bad. I got pretty bad. Success after success over here, but more discontent and more ugly in here. Thankfully, I'm married to an amazing woman who loved me through it all, even as I was becoming more unlovable. Let me tell you how I wish I could write this story. If I took poetic license, and I was very tempted to do that, the story would go like this. We moved from Miami to Tallahassee with the same law firm. I transferred after 2 years. That is true. Everything went in boxes for the move. That is true. We had not learned the most fundamental and important rule of packing up a house: label everything well. That is true. We arrived in Tallahassee and therefore had to open every single box. That is true. And I opened a box and pulled out reminders of what once had been the principles that shaped who I was becoming. That's true. Now, if I was writing this as a fictional account, I would tell you that I had a eureka moment and realized the problem and solved it, and started on a great path and became this great and wonderful loving husband and great person, and everything was hunky-dory and I was wonderful from there on out. That's not quite what happened. I had a eureka moment. I realized I had forgotten principles that were very, very important to me, and I started working on that. That's the eureka moment I had. The eureka moment I should have had was realizing that if I didn't do something about it, I would forget them again. And I did, thankfully. I had enough in my life to remind me of those things that were really important over the course of my life, that I've had a good life and a good career. But it took years for me to get back to the habit of every single day putting in front of me what was important to me. If you do that, at first you may not notice a difference. You can say something like, be patient in the morning, it's important to be patient, and drive to work and you've forgotten it and you get mad at somebody on the interstate. But if you do it every day, you will change over time for the better. First principle, you are not who you are. Second, take time for reflection. Third, remember what's important. Fourth principle, you get to choose your own attitude. You've probably heard that before. I first remember learning this in a very powerful way for me when I was 16 years old. I decided to take a job as a deckhand on a 110-foot crew boat that serviced oil rigs off the coast of Texas for a summer because it sounded so darn exciting. At sea every day, living on a boat, they would fly me out there in a private plane, all expenses paid, fairly good salary, I'd get to save it all. What could be bad about that? Sounded thrilling. The reality was a little bit different. The plane was a private plane, but it was a prop plane, and it is a long way in a prop plane from here to Ingleside, Texas, near the coast, near the border of Mexico. The marina was an ugly commercial marina, far, far from whatever civilization may have existed out there, because I didn't see any between the airport and the marina. And those are the only two places I went. There was no car to take you off outside of the marina property. The only amenity at the marina, I think, was a payphone. I don't even remember a vending machine. The ship's crew accommodations were what you might expect. The smallest room I still to this day have ever seen in my life. Small little bunk bed. Shower and toilet down the narrow hall. No television. I think we had one, but we were so far from everywhere where there was no signal, no internet, no phone. Two other crew members, a captain and a mechanic. Way older than me. At first I saw nothing in common with them. I have never been more lonely and miserable. To that point, I had never been more lonely and miserable in all my life. I've experienced depression. I was aching inside. I wasn't much of a reader then, but what else is there to do when you're not cleaning the boat or cooking or washing dishes? Every night I would lie down in my bunk and read it till I could fall asleep. I was reading something by Chuck Swindoll, and he was making this point that you could choose attitude, good attitude in any situation, and I just was not buying it at all. I was thinking that my circumstances were terrible. No amount of positive thinking could change my attitude, because no amount of positive thinking could change my circumstances. And it was those negatives that had my full attention until Swindoll quoted Viktor Frankl. I won't tell you much about Frankl for those of you who don't know who he was. But in 1937, he was at the beginning of his career in his hometown of Vienna, Austria, as a brand new, just having graduated and finished his residency, doctor with a specialty in neurology and psychology. He had done extraordinary things, really. He'd made international headlines for some programs that he started when he was in med school, and so he was able to start a very successful practice. He had a good name already. That was 1937. In 1938, the Nazi regime took over Austria. Frankl was Jewish, and immediately he was prohibited from seeing Aryan patients. As you know, things would only get worse. September 25th, 1942, Frankl, his wife, and his parents were forced out of their homes, everything taken from them, and they were taken to a Nazi concentration camp. He would next move to Auschwitz, where his wife would die, and where his parents would die. It wasn't until April 27, 1945, that his camp was liberated by American soldiers. He was the only survivor of that absolute horror. He would later pen words that I would read on a lonely summer night on a bunk in a small cabin of a crew boat on the Texas Gulf Coast, feeling very sorry for myself after telling myself that Swindoll had no idea what he was talking about with this attitude garbage. I mean, he'd never been stuck on a crew boat without friends like me. This is what Frankl wrote. We who lived in concentration camps can remember the men who walked through the huts comforting others, giving away their last piece of bread. They may have been few in number, but they offer sufficient proof that everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of situations or circumstances, to choose one's way. Those words cut me to the core. I was able to change my attitude and had a great summer with some great memories and some great adventures. That was about 40 years ago, and since then, let me borrow Swindoll's words. He said, and I agree, the longer I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on life. Attitude to me is more important than facts. It's more important than the past, than education, than money, than circumstances, than failures, than successes, than what other people think or say or do. It's more important than appearance, giftedness, or skill. It will make or break a company, a church, a home. The remarkable thing is we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we embrace for that day. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the fact that people will act in a certain way. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can play to is the one string we have, and that is our attitude. I am convinced that life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it, and so it is with you. We are in charge of our attitudes. We're almost there. One left. First principle, you're not who you are. Second, take time for reflection. Third, remember what's important. Fourth, you can choose your attitude. The fifth principle comes from a large cardboard poster that my little sister gave me as a birthday gift when I was still in high school. It's one that went from place to place to place. It had a beautiful picture of a sunset on it. It was the biggest thing on my wall. And in bold letters, it said this: 2 foundational facts of human existence. 1, there is a God. 2, you are not him. I took that exactly as my sister intended it. Get over yourself, big brother. I was a driven type A personality, making straight A's, co-editor of my high school's award-winning newspaper, involved in all sorts of things, and like most driven achievers, I was trying to control every outcome that I could, prove myself over and over again, bend the world to my will. What I needed to hear and what I did hear was, in a not so subtle but very clever way, that I'm not perfect and never will be. I am fallible. I'm one of billions of people on this planet. I may have an illusion of control because I may think I've achieved something, but control is just that, an illusion. Success is fleeting at best. I'm not that important in the grand scheme of things, and I better get that into my head. I need to chill out, not take myself so seriously, give myself a break, and give everybody else around me a break. For me, that poster served as the same function that Reinhard Niebuhr's Serenity Prayer does. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I needed to hear that then. I need to hear that now. And I think we all do, whether we believe there's a God or not. I also want to say something about the first assertion on that poster, there is a God. I believe that's true. And more importantly, I believe that my faith in God, more than any other single thing, is responsible for who I've become and what I've accomplished, the good at least. I'm sure that for me is my thing that supremely matters. It's where I got the guiding principles that I've used today. I've just repackaged them. It's where I got principles like the one quoted from the prophet Micah at my first investiture by then Ninth Circuit Chief Judge Belvin Perry. And what does the Lord require of you but to do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly with your God. It's been the main lamp to my feet and light for my path, as it says in the old Jewish wisdom literature. Now, I know that making those statements can be viewed as provocative because it's an emotionally charged subject for many people, particularly those who've been victimized by religion or the religious, and I recognize that religion has many victims. If there is a God, of course, he's perfectly capable of telling you that himself, so I'm not saying what I'm saying to try to convince you of anything. I'm just trying to be real with you about my journey in the hope that it will help yours. But I do want to say one more thing about the one potentially controversial thing that I said that may be the most important thing that I do say about who we are as a society and who we are as a country. I learned, and I don't know where I learned it from, that the way to navigate society and culture and organizations and institutions and clubs and things like that is to go into a group and meet people, don't say anything controversial, of course, and then try to bond with people, right? Find things that you have in common with them that you can bond over, and then you bond over that, and that's great, right? The problem is that does not make for a robust and healthy democracy. We need to go into rooms and try to bridge, not bond. We need to hear from and talk with and get to know people who do not think like we think, who do not look like we look, who do not sound like we sound. The temptation is in situations like this to only say what everybody will agree is perfectly acceptable to say, right? Which means our public discourse about the most important issues can devolve into nothing but screaming and shouting, and that makes for a very unhealthy future. There's a footnote to each of the principles I gave you, and it has to do with this truth. You cannot do this thing called life successfully on your own. Life, at best, is a team sport. We all need each other. First, my friend Chuck Price, who rather than just nodding and agreeing with my conclusions, challenged them in a skillful and tactful way. Second, an English literature teacher whose name I don't even remember. Third, my wife Julie. Fourth, Viktor Frankl, a voice from the past who survived and wrote about it. And Chuck Swindoll, a gifted author who took the time, energy, and effort to put some thoughts and words into a book that helped me. And fifth, my sister with her thoughtful and wise gift. And here's the point. If you can just remember what we talked about and apply it, what difference will you make in this generation and for those around you? Because we do need you in our country at your best. With the gifts that you have now and all that you've accomplished to date, who can you become? I, for one, am very proud of your accomplishment. Remember, 11,327 days from there to here. I expect great things. Congratulations.
Thank you, Justice Lawson. And now it's time.
Wait for her to be done.
I'm about to call forward the candidates for the Juris Doctor degree, the LLM degree, and the Juris Master's degree. I'll ask you to rise one row at a time and come forward to be recognized and hooded. President Thrasher will join me in receiving the graduates. Professor Emeritus Charles Ehrhard will announce the Juris Doctor candidates. We are especially grateful that Professor Ehrhard has joined us to help celebrate our 50th graduating class. Professor Ehrhard has taught all 50 of the classes to so far be conferred Florida State degrees in law. And for many of those years, he read the graduating students' names. Professors Nat Stern and Wayne Logan and Associate Dean for Student Advancement Nancy Benavides will hood the JD candidates. The hooders are selected by the graduating students. Please come forward.
Lindsay Alexandra Adler. Diana Marcella Aguilar Sinasteria. Justin Scott Alberstein. John Balbona. John Alexander Barr. Jacob Barrow. Allison June Beachy. Farah Kathleen Babahoney. Kurt Bender. Alex Perry Bergina. Donald James Biesecker. Marley Philoclaire Blaze. Alexandra Julia Block. Lindsay Ann Boudreau. Megan Bradley. Wilson Miller Brantley. Joseph Lauren Brown. John Thomas Buchan. Elizabeth Byron Buchanan. Daniel Lee Buckles. Benjamin Ashley Burleson. Rochelle Caroline Butler. Stephen Philip Habakkuk Butler. Damian Bythrow. Erica Rose Kagan. Isabel Greenwood Campbell. Jason Michael Cheka. Valerie Chartier Hogenkamp. Sue Hale Chobra. All right. Daniel Clibben. Mandy Cohen. Tatiana Cruz. Brenda Catherine Chikansky. Austin Todd Daly. Kirsten Marie Denny. Christy Marie Drake. Jared Dubasar. Johnny Paul Lasham. Mariana Elvira. Omar Ashid. Kaylin Ferreira. Did it? Farrell. Sorry. Jessica Farrell. Alex Fisher. Aaron Fortier. Phil Franca. Tawana Roche Franklin. Laura Elizabeth Crowley. Charles Reyes Frederick. Takia C. Gadson. Florencia Garcia Bahamonde. Jonay Garrett. Conrado Gomez. Catherine Jasmine Goldfine. Molly Elizabeth Gray. Taylor Hampton Green. Jonathan Grosso. Ryan Guerin. Carlton Carmichael Hamilton III. Joseph Horace Harrington. Robert Kyle Harris. Stephen Hart.
I'm not going yet.
Christopher Lawrence Hill. Michael William Hoffman. Alexandra Megan Holliday. William Homer. Ray Jack. Rachel Lynn Jankowski. Reginald Emmanuel Janvier. Mark Johnson. Myra Giselle Justo Ibar. Nico Carries. Michael Patrick Caney. John Cameron Katz. Kelly Kay. Sarah Marie Kiso. Caitlin Lee Keogh. Brendan Edward Kerwin. Tristan Anthony Lunasa. Alexa K. Landro. Landon Thomas LaSalle. Brandon David Ledford. Sarah Leon. Rachel Lindsay Lopez. Elise Brooke Lotzenheiser. Jordan Joseph Lulich. Cody James Malloy. Brent Marshall. Cole Masterson. Keely McKenna. Patrick R. McPhee. Michael Christopher Mealy. Amanda Lee Mora Mazer, and my favorite all-time student, Cozy. Ashley Miller. Allison Grace Borelli. Dominic Mortimer. Jessica Murray. Mallory Newman. Joanna Elaine Nieves. Stuart Nancy Heltzer. Natalia Ninkovich. Allison Sarah O'Brien. Graham William O'Donnell. Cassandra Paniagua. Paul Parton. Taylor Nicole Patton. Arniel Hogbin Polo. Paul Pavlikos. Morgan Alexandra Pearson. Ashley Taylor Pulford. Christopher Barrett Posner. Alec Connor Powers. Amy Jo Preston. Jake Kendrick Proudfoot. Melissa Joanne Rambo. Candace Francine Retford. Aaron Raconda. Annette Riddle. Alexis Evelise Rodriguez. Jessica Joy Rodriguez. Christopher Michael Rosa. Rose Bell Rosas. Ennio Russo Garcia. Kirsten Marie Schultzer. Blair Lindsay Schneider. Bennett Bradley Seacrest. Christopher Reddington Seifter. Lillian Rebecca Sharp. LaXavier Simmons. Karina Noel Shea. Stuart William Smith. Newer Elizabeth Sockmansewer. Rachel Marie Stosky. Kerwin Stephen. Tyler Eldon Stokes. Victoria Maria Suarez. Ryan High Sussman. Tatiana Mahogany Cheek. Tyler Templeton. Kimberly Thompson. Jorge Torres. Robert Joseph Undercolfer. Reagan Urquhart. John Brunaglia. Christopher Villa. Jenna Von C. Daniel Wade. Brandon Joseph Wagner. Danielle Diane Wagner. Samuel Wallens. Jacob McCartney Walters. Brooke Audrey Wickham. Megan Lachelle Williams. Wade Williams. Julia Maria Wishmeyer. Maggie Dorothy Youngener.
Today, we are also recognizing candidates in our LLM in American Law and our LLM in Business. The students in these programs have come to us having already earned law degrees from other countries. We have today 11 LLM candidates. They hail from the countries of Brazil, China, Colombia, Cuba, India, Jamaica, Kenya, Peru, and the Republic of Moldova. I want to thank each of them for coming to Tallahassee and for enriching all of our lives this year. Associate Dean for International Programs David Landau will now announce the LLM candidates, and Professor Nat Stern will hood the candidates.
Osvaldo Morahan Para. Alessandra Norat Musino. Hugo Rosan Silva. Kali Shrivana Boka. Tatiana Fotescu. Christina Andrea Galliano. Dorsas Muthoni. Muktavan Patel. Oliek Richards. Deepali Sain. Yetian Wang.
Today, we are also recognizing graduates of one of our newest programs, the Juris Masters program. This program is designed for non-lawyer professionals who want to advance their careers in other areas, such as financial services, business, compliance, and human resources, by acquiring a more sophisticated understanding of their legal and regulatory landscapes. Associate Dean Landau will now announce the Juris Master candidates, and Professor Nat Stern will hood the candidates.
Brian Erickson. Alicia Johnson. Byron Williams.
Will the candidates for the Juris Doctor degree, the LLM degree, and the Juris Master degree please rise? President Thrasher, I have the honor, on behalf of the faculty of the College of Law of the Florida State University, to present the candidates for the Juris Doctor degree, the LLM degree, and the Juris Master degree.
Thank you very much, Dean O'Connor. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Florida Board of Governors and the Florida State University Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon you the appropriate degree for which you have qualified. We extend to you our heartiest congratulations.
You may be seated. We have a special award to present at this time, the Blaise N. Gamba Outstanding Pro Bono Service Award, that is presented to a graduating 3L student who has demonstrated an extraordinary commitment to pro bono service. The College of Law has a 20-hour pro bono service graduation requirement. Many of our students complete far in excess of that number. Approximately 40% of our graduating class each completed 40 or more hours of pro bono service. And as President Thrasher mentioned, the class of 2018 has logged a very impressive nearly 11,000 hours of pro bono service. The award we are presenting today was established in honor of one of our 2006 graduates, Blaze Gamba, who passed away tragically last year in a scuba diving accident. Blaze was a beloved Carlton Fields attorney who was well known as an outstanding litigator and trusted advocate for her clients, as well as a leader and champion for the firm's pro bono efforts. Pro bono was near and dear to her heart, both as a law student and then later as an attorney. This year's recipient of the Blaze N. Gamba Outstanding Pro Bono Service Award is Brenda Chikansky. Brenda, will you please come up? Brenda is a true leader in public interest at FSU's College of Law. Brenda is an aspiring public defender, and she is passionate about indigent representation, criminal defense, and juvenile advocacy. During the past 2 years, she has logged more than 300 hours of pro bono service as a volunteer law clerk with Legal Services of North Florida and the College of Law's Children's Advocacy Clinic. During this time, she's worked closely with Professor Paulo Anino, the director of our Public Interest Law Center. In the Children's Advocacy Clinic, Brenda has excelled and helped numerous children in prison and the juvenile delinquency system. Brenda has also helped farm worker families. This spring, she was the student coordinator for the College of Law's Alternative Spring Break. The students traveled to Apopka, Florida to advocate for farm worker families. Brenda has volunteered over and over again to help the needy in our community. Brenda represents the best of Florida State University College of Law, and we're delighted to recognize her as this year's recipient of the Blaze Gamba Outstanding Pro Bono Award. We have 2 other special awards to present today, and I would like to ask graduating third-year student Lily Sharp, outgoing president of our Student Bar Association and tireless advocate for the advancement of student life at the College of Law, to present those awards. Both of them were voted on by the members of the Spring 2018 graduating class.
Good afternoon. Beginning at our first-year orientation, we learned the importance of the role of professionalism, civility, and ethics in the legal profession. These themes are reinforced and infused in many ways throughout our years of law school. They are woven into the fabric of our law school curriculum, community, and culture. The Raising the Bar Professionalism Award is voted on by the graduating class and presented to one member of this class who exemplifies the ideals of professionalism within the law school community, including exhibiting a positive attitude, a devotion to honesty, integrity and good character, a strong work ethic, civility with colleagues, a desire to help others, and a sense of humor. The recipient of this year's Raising the Bar Professionalism Award embodies these characteristics and is someone I am proud to call a friend. Jenna Von C., will you please join me on the stage to accept this award? Another round of applause for Jenna. The Open Door Faculty Award is presented to a faculty member who has gone above and beyond this academic year, mentoring our law students. This award is also voted on by the graduating third-year students. I am delighted to present this award on behalf of the members of this graduating class to Professor Nat Stern.
Congratulations again to everyone. To the graduates, I have 2 requests for you. First, before you know it, you'll be in a position to influence the hiring decisions of your employer. Please bring those job openings home to Florida State. In order for our graduates to obtain substantial employment and career success, we need our talented and enthusiastic alumni to help pave the way for future FSU law students. Please stand willing to reach back and help the students who follow in your footsteps. Second request, please stay in touch. We miss you when you leave. When you have good news, give us a call or send an email. If you find yourself struggling or in need of advice or mentorship, we are here for you. Please touch back. To everyone, thank you so much for coming today. You are all invited to a reception on the Law School Green across the street. We ask that you permit the platform party and the graduates to leave first. The platform party will leave the stage walking down the aisle to my left, and the platform party will be followed by the graduates. We look forward to seeing you back at the law school.